This one goes off for y'all.
All right, all
What's
right.
up, guys? Welcome back to Andrew's channel.
Yep. All right, season two of Mammoth Pilgrim.
Make sure to
Um,
smash that like button.
And turn on the
exactly.
notifications.
There you go. There you go. Yep, yep. All two listeners that we have. Um, but anyway, so I think it was my turn to decide on some spotlight films for this month. I tried to do it the way you did it, Jackson, but I think I think this is where the gap between somebody who does kind of screening and like film selection kind of as like a like kind of like your main sort of way
Mm,
of spending time. It shows in because I was trying to do that, and I think after like an hour I was like, fuck this. I literally I went back and forth so much, and I think I like put something in, deleted it, tried to name
been for a
like
long
my
time, dude.
two.
Don't worry. No,
Yeah, and
I
I was like,
agonized over this for a long time as well.
um, but so I think I decided on a two set of two spotlight films that
Mm.
I thought would be fun for us to watch. And these are all four films that I haven't watched yet. And I think out of these four movies, I think we don't need to like have to choose them by the bundle. If you like one movie from one bucket and you like the other one from the other bucket, maybe we can. I'm down to just choose any two out of the four. I think that's
Mm.
what I'm saying here. Um, so here were some of the spotlight films I was thinking.
Oh, hell yes.
So this is bucket one,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and this is bucket two. So I think bucket one I was gonna call it so Asians in Paris, kind of a spoof of
What did he
um
say?
What did he
a,
say?
Asians in Paris. Kind of a spoof of an American in Paris, but these these
Yes.
two
Oh,
these
I
two
see.
Yeah, so
films.
that's what you're spoofing. Yes.
Yeah, an American in Paris, but was spoofing that. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. And so these two films are yeah, essentially it's a movie about well, I'm gonna check this real quick. Then just see, there you
That was
go.
not for the audience. That's for us.
Well, the two listeners are gonna have to see it. But yeah, these two are films that I've been meaning to watch actually for some time, but I guess I'd never had a chance to do. First one is Tsai Ming Liang's "What Time Is It There?" I think it came out in 2001. I mean, obviously, with any Liang films, like Li Kangxing's there. And I think it's yeah, Asians who I think happen to be in Paris, and they kind of create that bond, like happenstance, serendipity. Probably also in very like slow cinema fashion, as Psy is well known for. And then the other film is Night and Day by Hong Sang-soo. I don't know when it came out, but like it also is dealing with like
Eight,
I
I think.
think yeah, like Korean art dealers that are like working in Paris and different set of like rendezvous that happen.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I feel like these two films, like the whole kind of sensibility of like Asian European like locust has always been like just like I think my taste in cinema. Um,
Mm.
so I know I remember when I was just choosing the films, I like knew I had to add something in here along those lines. So that's first set. What time is it there? And Night and Day. Um, and then for the second part, I was gonna call it it was gonna be Roaming Around with Romer. Um,
Mm.
Mm. Mm.
but I had a change of heart. So the first one is a Romer film. It's called I think the English translation is Boyfriends and Girlfriends, L'ami de mon ami. Um,
Mm.
and I think it kind of is sort of like a whodunit romantic film about like girlfriends switching with boyfriends and like I don't exactly know what it's about, but I just have been seeing it pop up a lot in my like recommendation for just on my like letterboxed. So that's one. And then I was gonna this is a funny story. So I was gonna also suggest an Autumn's Tale like
mm,
that's by Romer, right? But
mm,
then this other Autumn's Tale came out in my
Mm,
suggested list, which is a Hong Kong film with Chow Yun-fat and I forgot who I think it's Mabel Cheng, she's the female actress. That's
mm,
about um yeah, these uh Hong Kongers that kind of find each other in New York City and then sort of kind of uh grow in their feelings and emotions toward each other, in like the 1980s as they are like freshly immigrated to New York.
mm, mm,
And I don't know, I kind of felt like this, I like movies like like what's that movie? Like Tian Mimi or movies where like this
mm.
kind of in like China, but then the people there are like have sort of moved to the US and that aesthetic of like 80s and 90s. And I thought Autumn's Tale would be also a cool film to watch. So yes, these four. That's what time is it there? Night and Day, Boyfriends and Girlfriends, and Autumn's Tale. And we don't have to like say like we choose like I think out of these four, I guess any two I think I would be, happy to watch for this week or this
that's
month.
great.
Nice,
Um,
Yeah.
nice.
yeah, these all look really, really great. I'm just like looking up. I have only seen of these four, I've only seen What Time Is It There? And that was a long time
Mm.
ago. I saw that like maybe an intro film theory at Amherst in sophomore year. So it's
Amher
been
Amherst showed it. Wow.
yeah, Amelie Hasty showed it in intro film theory.
Wow.
I did not get it at the time. I was definitely not ready for a Simon
Uh-huh.
Young now. So I'm always open to revisiting that.
Okay.
I like all of these. I would love to do one block or the other because I love how you've just kind of imagined these.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess yeah, Young Guang, if there's any that you have or haven't seen or would prefer one way or the other, I'm super open to anything.
Yeah, I think the best foot forward is probably to double dip. Um, one on each side.
Mm.
Uh, funny because I think for me it was like in Amherst it was Compernol that he showed me Goodbye Dragon into an intro to film class,
Yeah.
and
Wow. I did not know
I
Liam
didn't get
was
it.
so like such a
Oh, they
presence
love
in,
yeah.
He
in
is the
the
designated
Amherst.
Amherst pleb filter.
They
Like
That's
love
so funny. I because
like
I didn't take a
so
single
waiting.
I did not take a single film studies class. Well, I guess I took one, but that was my senior year, second semester. But I didn't know there was such a like a presence of Simon Young
yeah,
at Amherst.
I think
Interesting.
nobody in my class liked Goodbye Dragon and the professor was kind of fighting for his life. But now I get it. I get it now. I get it
Yeah,
now.
that's
um,
I think it's definitely hard to watch as like I guess like a 19-year-old like
Mhm.
yeah,
um
Who loves
just
Tarantino or whatever. Yeah.
right.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're used to watching Kill Bill and then you watch I don't know like a Sammy Lang movie, it'll be a different world. Um
I'm personally very interested in Autumn's Tale, the one you've
And
mm,
excavated. Yeah,
got it.
like,
Okay.
and I
Then
think yeah.
mm, okay. So my personal something that I've been really wanting to watch actually has
Mm,
been the Romer film. I mean
mm,
this has just resurfaced over and over for me.
mm.
Um and Autumn's Tale I think would be a very interesting film to watch too. Um so maybe I'm thinking would you guys be okay if we did Romer and then Autumn's Tale for this
Oh
week?
yeah,
sure,
oh
totally.
yeah.
Let's do that. So I'll just indicate this later, but yeah, it'll be um boyfriends, girlfriends, and then Autumn's Tale for this month spotlight series. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, and then I'm sure you guys can also just I might probably just watch all four at one point too, but like just
Mhm.
for the purpose of the discussion, we'll do these
Yeah.
two films.
No, we should
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
bookmark all the options that get shuffled away because they'll can definitely come back around. They definitely should come
Oh,
back.
Yeah,
word, word,
yeah.
word, word, word. Yeah, yeah.
Because
That's a great idea.
yeah, because I was thinking about watching what's that? I think it was from Jackson. Your like one of the series like sets you recommended was the why am I forgetting the name of like that director? It's like
Oh,
Michael
Michael
Mann.
Mann. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't had time, but I definitely have his name bookmarked so I can
Yeah.
watch it at one point.
Heat is
Yeah.
definitely on streaming right now somewhere or another. Would definitely like
Yeah.
that is such a banger.
What was
Something
the
that
Michael
I
Mann movie you recommended, Jackson?
Sorry?
Was it Collateral? What?
The Michael Mann films I recommended were The Insider and Ferrari,
Okay.
but I love Collateral.
uh,
Collateral so goated.
where does
So
Michael Mann kind of like fit in like a I don't know like a director genealogy if there is one,
Ooh.
or does he kind of like I don't know like because I yeah
it's
maybe I just
interesting.
hmm
I
To me,
guess he's New Hollywood,
fits in
like
with the
from the
Tony
seven.
Scott sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like very like, you know, hyper romantic, hyper kind of swooning, but also like intense, like frenetic action movie kind of vibe.
Interesting, interesting.
Hmm.
Does he kind of have like a yeah I guess I think I just have to
Yeah, I think you should
just
just check
watch
it
it.
out.
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
it's very
exactly.
clear very
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
quickly.
hard to draw comparisons.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Well, let's watch these two for next month. And yeah, let's move on to talking about this week's spotlight film, which was the Asian American film doubleheader that Jackson you
Yes.
sourced for us. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I
all
hope
right.
you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed revisiting both of these movies a lot.
I loved Better Luck Tomorrow. I mean, I love
Hmm.
both films,
Yeah.
but I cannot believe I did not watch this until now. Like I cannot believe I like did not watch it. And, like I think I actually remember I started it at one point and then because a lot of the scenes were familiar because I clearly remember I watched the scene where John Cho rolls up in his like motorcycle like his first appearance. Like I remember that scene and I think I watched it maybe a couple years ago and then I think I just got distracted. But yeah, like I mean like I'll just start off by saying I like really just stylistically, thematically, and in many ways just really thought it was a stylish sense, like sensual, but also kind of like a heavy film, you know, in many ways. Um, yeah, like I'll kind of uh and it's kind of interesting too because I was like I think as I was watching something that I kind of did was like I try to like look up all the actors and to
Mm,
see like what they're up to now. And it was cool to see a lot of them. I think Sung Kang was in like Fast and Furious afterwards. I mean, John Cho got really big. Um,
Hmm.
so it was kind of cool. Like I think I love seeing like films that sort of like almost serve as like an origin story of some sort for a lot of these like actors who
Hmm.
kind of like were like sort of like no-namers at that time that ended up
totally.
just becoming big names later on.
Hmm.
It's funny. People have even gone as far as to say that Better Luck Tomorrow is a like direct in-universe like prequel story, origin story for Han because he
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
shares
yeah.
he does in the Fast and Furious movies.
There was
You
like
know, he
a
gets
there was like a literary
kind of like
word for that.
burnout. Yeah.
Um, because I haven't watched Tokyo Drift, but I think they said something about how uh yeah, this word, retroactive continuity.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
Uh, um, yeah. Well, what were your thoughts, Young Wong?
Uh, I mean, it really, it really pains me that there were not more movies like this made after this movie.
Mm,
I'm glad Justin Lin, he's objectively one of the most successful Asian American filmmakers
yeah.
in the industry.
I did not
Not
know until
yeah,
after I watched this. Yeah.
yeah, not that he gets the credit for it, but like I love the Fast and Furious movies, especially the ones that Lin himself directed, like Fast Five.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, maybe this is like also on the now that have you guys seen the Mufasa trailer for The Lion King?
Oh God.
Well, I
You know
haven't.
Barry Barry Jenkins is directing that?
Yes,
No
let's.
way.
Yeah.
You are.
They
Oh
got
yeah,
them
this is
all.
Mary Jenkins.
They,
Wow, that's
they got
crazy.
him. They got him man down.
Ripped
Wait,
Like,
him
you
do
off.
you,
know,
Right.
does that? Do
I,
you guys meme that as like a like maybe
He
it's
got
because I
Chloe
don't
Zhao,
know,
bro.
huh?
He got Chloe Zhao.
he got Chloe Zhao.
Oh,
He got
wait,
compromised.
I see. Because Chloe Zhao, she made like Eternals.
Eternal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That I get the nuance now.
Yeah. And, you know, no, not that Fast Five is probably going to be as bad as what Mufasa seems to be. But,
Mhm.
like, I can't help but feel that, because of sort of the material realities of the film industry, is what he could have. I don't want to say like he's wasted potential or anything, but it's just like the movies he could have made in maybe like more ideal conditions. We didn't get to see
We didn't get
like
them.
a
True.
continuation of Better Luck Tomorrow into like, I mean, who know, like I can't even put into words what he could have done. I mean,
Yeah,
that
can
was
you
really
imagine
up to
like the
him.
whole Justin Lin body of work built on this kind of idea and this kind of
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's so interesting to imagine. Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. Like, cause like even the Fast and Furious movies don't move like this movie does with this
No,
kind of style, with this
mm,
not
kind
at
of
all.
like, yeah, with this kind of like almost like a little bit tinge of melancholy,
Hmm.
yeah,
throughout it
yeah.
all. So yeah, I mean, the title is Better Luck Tomorrow. It really does make you,
Mm.
it sounds a
No,
bit
literally.
sardonic.
Maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah,
better luck tomorrow with the next
yeah,
Justin of the world, right?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
the movie itself, it's like it's great. Like it's to think that this is a debut feature too. Like we praise a lot of like great directors for an excellent debut feature. This is like almost fully formed as a
Yeah.
piece of vision,
Hmm.
and
It reminded me a
yeah.
lot of John Singleton. I guess like the who made
Mm-hmm.
like Boys in the Hood, like Poetic
Mm-hmm.
Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah.
Like I guess it's both kind of like from like that LA area, both sort of dealing with like kind of teenage ennui as well as sort of what it means to like grow up in LA. It's very like rooted in like uh the director's like local like the locality of the film. Um
Mm-hmm.
Total
very like
agreement.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think they're both like the films both it just like you they both kind of have that like MTV aesthetic too, like
Yeah.
baggy
Well, it
pants.
literally was MTV Studios, I think, as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I get
yeah,
that totally clears it up. It is. I think what Youngblood you said is right. Like, I think John Singleton's oeuvre of work is what Justin Lin, like what we were just saying, like what his works could have been, right? Because I think Singleton
yeah.
sort of like made his entire filmography around this aesthetic
That's such a good
of kind of
comparison. Not gonna
yeah
lie.
of sort
Yeah,
of like
I want to, yeah.
the coming of age of like these struggles of inner city conflicts and things like that, whereas yeah, I don't know, I think it's a lot of the times it does come down to like maybe just the reality of getting funding or um just different, I guess, opportunities that arise. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like I don't know, maybe Asian American cinema now could have looked quite different, or it could have been expedited if like more films like this were coming out in like early 2000s. But it got, it was Better Luck Tomorrow, and then it was like the what is it, The Waking Dead, and then there's like Steven Yeun there,
Mhm.
like things
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And I think like just on the topic of like Asian American films and broadly, also side note, John Singleton also directed a Fast and Furious movie, Too Fast, Too
No
Furious.
way.
So
Okay,
yeah, so,
wow.
um,
The pipeline
but
is real.
yeah, the pipeline is real. But like Asian, I think a lot of like Asian American cinema is like, not like maybe I don't want to say naturally, but like maybe understandably is about displacement, right? And a lot of like there's a lot of like sense of like
Mm,
on like a lack of rootedness that the characters struggle with, whether that be like, I guess in more prominent examples like in Minari, things of that
yeah.
nature. And like but what really strikes me, what strikes me as a point of divergence for this is like, the characters go through what they go through, but there is such a strong sense of place in Better Luck Tomorrow that the place
Mm,
could not be any other place for the
right.
characters. The characters, maybe they want a better situation. They want a better situation in life. They have their relationship problems, but all of these problems like unfold in that strong sense of place.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
seems like a lot of Asian American cinema, again, understandably, and seems to interrogate the kind of what is the place of Asian Americans in America slash Asia. Like this
Mhm.
genuinely feels like a almost like a post Asian American film in the sense that
Mm,
the process of like settling in and has occurred. Not that assimilation is complete, but that the process of like we're living here, this is our material reality now.
hmm.
Now how will our lives unfold in this new reality? What problems are going to arise in this new reality? Like it's
Yeah, it's so
yeah,
interesting. It's like a second
Yeah.
generation film that predates a lot of these immigration, narratives and this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's so interesting. I totally see that too. I think it's so interesting as well. One thing I noticed this time is like the things that these guys get into, it's crime, it's making money, it's like running
yeah.
scams, but the material conditions and the material needs are not the center of this film at any point.
Mm,
It's never, I don't think, ever really explicitly articulated that any of the characters need money and are like
hmm
doing this for money. There's
Yeah.
much more of a like identity and again masculinity or like becoming, and like, coming of age and this kind of thing, and then place and like existing
yeah.
in like very specific places takes way more of a center stage than like the actual, like you said, like material conditions of or like the material like yeah
Yeah.
concepts in this
Mm,
movie.
It's
Uh,
I think it's I think what Youngwang and Jackson you both said, it's and this actually kind of ties like well with like I guess when we talk about shortcomings, it's like the film did not strike me so much as an Asian American film. I guess like in the
mm,
sense that like it's not like, and I feel like the fact that it takes place in LA actually plays a big role because I think I felt this too, like where like Koreans from LA are less caught up about finding a sense of place in like
mm,
where they are in
mm,
America, just because there's already like so many of them in masses, but it's more about like finding a sense of place um in just like their existence in many
mhm,
ways that
mm,
everybody in the world would go through, right? So when I
mm,
watch this film, like yeah, like it deals with Asian American themes about like high achieving, about parental pressure, about these different like having to do well in school and things like that. But at
despite
the core,
not having a single parent ever appearing.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
mm,
And maybe I think that's a deliberate choice because I think
Or
like I mean I'm thinking about movies like Joy Luck Club, which I think is kind of contemporaneous with this movie, which is all about parent student struggle. I mean parent student kind of expectation, but like this movie is it's it I think fundamentally is more of like a punk movie, right? It's like a punk like
mm,
like rebellious movie just about teenage angst that happens to be played out by Asian Americans. And I guess it's not to say like the Asian Americanness of the movie is any diminished, just like how like Roger Ebert was yelling at like the people in that. But it is such a breath of fresh air. Like I think if I watched this movie when I was in high school, like damn, like I would feel like first of all kind of jealous that they're doing all this like in high school. But
mm, mm,
I
mm,
think it's like, like it's I think this is also a kind of representation um that maybe like people who are like growing up or if I were to say like would seek out more, right?
mhm.
Than just sometimes like I don't know. I feel like sometimes a lot of like Asian American themed movies tend to like play on themes that are so just familiar to us, like things that we all
mm,
know, that I think when I watch a movie like this, it just feels such like a breath of fresh air.
mm.
And yet there is something still so kind of unavoidably familiar, right? Like there's something so
Yeah.
essentially Asian American, I feel like just in like the it given that like the character struggle, the primary character struggle for a lot of these guys is reconciling doing the stuff that they're supposed to do, which they do from the beginning. There's no
mm,
question about that. He's like a, straight A student. He's like drilling his
Yeah.
SAT words at the beginning of the film. Um, but that there's this kind of coming of age, or that becoming is much more than just doing what's expected of you or what feels like the right thing to do. There's also just discovering who you are relative to your
Yeah.
peers and to other people around you and to people who have even different material conditions. Someone like John Cho, and
Yeah.
John Cho's
Yeah.
character,
mm,
Yeah.
like, there's a really interesting like class element in there, and it's almost about as much
Yeah.
about that as it is about you know
mm,
and the specific like Asian American
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
mm, mm,
I don't
And,
know.
yeah. And one side note, I thought all the actors and actresses in the movie were like, damn, they're all so like good looking. What did you say? Like, dude, everybody was handsome as fuck. It was like Song Kang and like um Virgil. Like I was like, wow, like I don't
Yeah.
know how they found them, but it was like this like a great lineup of cast too. Um
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, let's move on to our next
Fun,
film
fun.
just so we're conscious of time, which I think Shortcomings, which yeah, almost kind of like a I don't even know how to like an Asian American film that's
Mm,
also very deeply Asian American. It was weird when I watched this. I almost like definitely a part of me I could see in like the in Justin Min's character like a lot,
Don't you
a
hate it?
lot, a lot. I was
mm,
like, fuck, like this it's hitting a little bit too close to home, you know? Um
mm,
and I don't know, it was like I mean like I think about like, now it's just like I just like these types of movies because it's just like what my taste is now. But when I first started getting into like French New Wave and like all these European cinema and like trying to get into New Hollywood and like be really into jazz was like, and then that was like my like kind of, and that was like me being like Justin Min's character. I was like, I like Asian American art
Romer.
or yeah, it's
mm,
like
mm,
it's not capacious enough to contain like all the different interests I have and yeah, I don't know. So I definitely felt like, but I think that's also a good thing about the movie, right? Because I think the movie is pointing out something about Asian American identity that sometimes is like not talked about as much. Like Asian Americans who maybe like it's not like that they don't want to identify as Asian American, but like also kind of have this like wanting to maintain that sense of individuality that sometimes clashes with this like monolithic idea of being Asian American,
mm,
right? Um,
mm,
but
mm.
yeah, would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. You go first.
Um, yeah, I guess just to connect it to Better Luck Tomorrow, I was gonna say that it's kind of interesting that for Italian films, for Black films, again, like Singleton, a lot of like the quote unquote second generation or like the you know the post settlement era of a lot of like racial minorities as represented in film goes through almost this like immunological reaction by the part of the country of criminality.
Mhm.
It's like a lot of second generation films for a lot of minorities all around is about crime,
Hmm.
right? A lot it's about being like shitty people on an interpersonal level, um, in a way that doesn't always have the clearest connection to like uh, you know, why they were funneled into the life of crime. I say all this to say not that Shortcomings is a crime film, but like Shortcomings is about shitty people in a
Yeah.
way in a more in a
Uh,
if and I think I might be biased towards like Better Luck Tomorrow just a little bit because like what film is likelier to be summarized in a annoying Twitter thread? It's probably Shortcomings more so than Better Luck Tomorrow.
yeah.
But I do think like it is a step forward though. It's that lot of a lot of the sort of the criticism of like oh, we don't want to see, shitty white people, shitty
Mhm.
complicated white men on film no more. But like being that is the mark of having made it, you know. When
Mm,
you're
Uh,
when you're when your movie is about shitty individuals and how complicated those individuals are,
yeah.
and how you can't always pass permanent judgment on even the people who seem the shittiest in your everyday life. That's how you know you've made it
mhm.
as a race. When you look at Korean cinema in Korea, you got plenty of those. When you
Oh
got
yeah.
native cinema in their native countries, you got plenty of those. And
Yeah.
in America, I mean, I don't think there's an argument like why people have the monopoly on that kind of
Hmm.
narrative. And as clearly sort of um, you know, maybe not as like quote unquote like dignified as like the sort of like the grand narratives of shitty people like
Yeah.
Godfather in Shortcomings. I do think Shortcomings is ultimately sort of striving towards that. And I think there is
Hmm.
um yeah, I think even more in a weird way, more so than Better Luck Tomorrow, Shortcomings left me a bit more optimistic than
Mm,
anything else. Because it's about like it's because of the nature of the narrative, it necessarily strays away from like the usual like archetypes that we associate with
Yeah.
like Asian American cinema, all the while being about like Asian American things.
mhm.
Um,
That's a really good point. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you need to make films about Asian Americans that have like significant shortcomings. And I know
Mhm.
a ton of people who are Asian American, I mean like all of us who are like can be shitty too, right? And it's like that's
Yeah.
in many ways like they're like I think the scenes where like Ben's like at night, like watching his like fucking, I don't know, like
Soup.
400 blows by himself, like at night, and this kind of like feeling intellectually superior. I was like,
Yeah.
I've definitely been there. And it's like, and I felt so like, wow, like, and I thought that was like, but I think here's like, I guess like why this idea of representation is important because I thought it was like just me that have felt that at times. I don't know. Maybe it's like you
Mhm.
just don't see a lot of that on screen, right? A lot of like,
Mhm.
I guess like quote unquote like hipster Asian Americans who like don't, like who just want to be kind of just like artsy, whatever. Like being able to see that kind of persona on like such like on screen, it's like I guess like what Young said, like also a form of representational progress.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
seeing myself being the worst person ever. That makes me feel the most human and more than any kind of representation could.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I know I'm real, that I'm so shitty, that I'm
Yeah.
so
It was a humbling film. I think that's kind of how
I
I
know
thought of it.
extremely.
Yeah.
It was very humbling, and it's
Yeah.
like, man, like, yeah, like I think I've had like the way Justin Min, I guess the way Ben treated his girlfriend is also like, like they're definitely relatable components as well. Um, but yeah, I feel like I think the title is so appropriate to like just shortcomings of yeah, just of people who are trying to live their lives and have
Mhm.
feelings and uncontrollable emotions and things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Jackson? Or
Um, Numerous, of course. I think you guys really on the head. I mean, I'm really glad you connected with it. I feel like it's such a funny movie. Like, I feel like this is the best
Yeah.
group I could have watched this movie with.
yeah, dude,
But
I was
and
watching it on
reflect on
Netflix and
this.
like I had to pause a few times just to like, or
You're
I
like,
was like, oh, dude, this is too much. Yeah.
no, no,
Mhm.
it's painful. It's so
Hmm.
cringy at so many moments.
Hmm.
And I think what we're experiencing, I think what makes me so uncomfortable, or what I have always connected with or found so interesting about this film is that I think it understands both sides very, very clearly. And when I
Hmm.
say both sides, I mean kind of its like primary interest, which is the like romantic dynamics between Asian people and white people and the kind of
Mhm.
genderness and the kind of weirdness of this. And I mean, I remember being a high schooler learning about the historic like desexualization of Asian American men, transcontinental
Yeah.
railroad, white jobs. They want you to they push this narrative that Asian men are effeminate and sterile or not sexual and like
Mm.
whatever. And not a lot of them like had families when they first came. They were just brought over for their labor. It's this kind of thing. So it's like very, 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 very ingrained. It's a cultural, like it's a social cultural pattern that has like that remains and kind of infects itself still to this day. But at the same time, and like, and I think there's no, at no point does the movie argue this isn't where Ben comes from or that this isn't what is working in Ben's mind, that there is some kind
Mhm.
of social injustice that prevents him from being the being attractive the way he thinks he wishes he could be maybe.
Yeah.
um but I think at the same time, like the most salient point around that is that while Asian American men have this legitimate point, if they want to make it, about historic desexualization or their demographics and the self-hating assimilation, oh, white women, white men, and Asian women together, it's such a like fetishistic thing, like that can all be true, and it can still come from a very bitter, self-hating place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
mm,
by no means, I mean, this conversation he has with Meredith and uh, Alice in that bar in New York, where he's like,
Mhm.
you know, Alice's like Asian girlfriend, and um, that like this the inverse of an Asian guy with a white woman or this kind of thing isn't also part of its own fetishistic pattern, or and especially now in this era of like Asian, you know, international like Asian soft power like has its place now, you know, and it kind of really
Mhm.
does go both ways. Like Ben might have had half a leg to stand on 20 years ago in this regard, but like he totally is like subject. It runs totally both ways, I feel like. And that's something that
mm,
I think the movie acknowledges and has a lot of generosity for everyone's anguish on every end of this really complicated situation.
Yeah.
mm.
And for and a lot of empathy and care for everyone's really shitty behavior around this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's why when I was watching the movie, it's like Ben is not a likable character by any means, and I think there's just so I was very. It's not like I was like, oh, he's so charming or whatever, but I think it also like makes me like keep it. It also I still felt like you couldn't. I couldn't help but feel like how helpless he feels
Mhm.
at times because at the end of the day, it's like you can't separate the fact that the shadiness and this fragile masculinity that Ben is exuding in a lot of these scenes, could in many ways, you can't dissociate that from the fact that there has been like centuries and decades of Asian American sort of denigration and just desexualizations that happened in America that must also, yeah, like affect a lot of
Mhm.
Asian American men's psyche. Um, so it was weird. It's like, man, like, yeah, like I hate this guy, but at the same time, it's this feeling of like I'm pretty sure Ben also knows that he's a shitty person too, you know?
Oh,
And I
more
think it's
than
that like,
like
Yeah.
wow, right?
yeah, it's that like double knowledge that I have that like I can see that he's shitty, but at the same time, I also know that he knows he's shitty too. That kind of endears me towards him in like a double negative kind of way.
Mhm.
That yeah, I don't know. It's I don't condone his sort of just general like ass behavior at times,
Mhm.
but like it's also like I
You
don't know, I kind of
understand
mhm.
kind of like where it comes from, right? Like it almost you can't like you can dislike him for it, but you can't entirely. I mean, and you can even blame him for it. You can hold him fully responsible for it. It is his individual
Yeah.
behavior, it is individual shadiness, but like
Mhm.
that there is this complicated context to it that endears you in a certain way. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of exactly what his girlfriend says when they break up, right? That like
Yeah.
I felt sorry for you for so long and that kept me around, you know, because I felt
Yeah.
like you there was there it was sad. It was a sad like kind of thing to watch you deal with this thing that like really tortures you and that you really grapple with, but which
Yeah.
you can never express in a healthy way and you've never expressed in a healthy way and you've never put in any work to come to terms with until literally like that moment in the film,
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It kind of speaks for us in that moment, I feel like.
One last thing about the film. Thought that breakup scene was pretty dope though. When like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
girlfriend's like laughing and she's like, I just realized that I'll never have to hear your voice again or something like that, you know?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Well, yeah. Well, both films were like I really enjoyed watching them.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, yeah. It was also quite easy because I think this was on Netflix and Better Luck Tomorrow was on Amazon Prime, so just turned it on. I know we're at time, and I want to make sure that you guys can go on with the rest of your days. So let's choose. Tentatively, let's choose like what our when our next meeting days will be. Um, would you guys be so? I know I'll be in New York, starting like the second week of June. I just don't really know what my schedule will look like once I'm in New York though, because that's when I start my job. But I'll be down to meet like what do you guys think about meeting like June 8th? Like that's a Saturday? Is that or
I am okay to
Mhm.
pencil that in soft, but
uh
Brooklyn Film Festival will run through that day, and I don't know what would be
uh
needed schedule
yeah.
wise yet. Probably
What
anytime that next week, like maybe that week you're here, Andrew, we can even get together and take the meeting together sometime if that.
yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
That'll be cool. I just for me like
No,
because
I'm sure
my
you're gonna be
yeah.
all around, like you're gonna be working and stuff. So
Mhm.
like, I'm good
So
for somewhere in that zone though, like kind of the 8th
okay,
to the 15th, somewhere in there.
got it. What about June? Because I kind of want to take it like I think it'll be fun too for me to just do it when like I know like my schedule's a little bit more stable.
Mhm.
Um, what about what about like that? What about the week of what about June? Do you guys have a preference? Like Yonggwang, do you have a preference?
Um, I'll be I'll be like in my summer break then, so I think I'm pretty much flexible.